Hi, this is Kevin Conroy, and you're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network.
You've just jumped inside the pull bag. Join TFG1Mike and the rest of the comic crew here at the GCRN as they make their great escape into comics. From DC, Marvel, and Image to IDW, Boom Studios, and Zenescope, we have everything right here. We cover things like Transformers, He-Man, superheroes, TMNT, and Radiant Black. Yeah, we have all that and so much more. It's all inside the pull bag here on the GeekCast Radio Network. So, without further ado, it's time to talk about the comics we're reading right now, here inside the pull bag.
Give me a triple. Now.
Hello and welcome to the Pull Bag. This is episode 512, and we are here to discuss part 1 of 2 of Batman Beyond Neo Year. I'm, of course, TFG1Mike. We just celebrated 10 years of the Pull Bag, March 6, 2023. Holy shit, can you believe it, folks? I don't know who else I had on that, but I do know Steve Megatron, Ryan the Uneven Flow, my Wrecker Gals, Amy, Nicole, and Heather, and my good buddy JT from Saskatoon, who is my Batman Beyond buddy, who is here today as well. Hello, sir.
Good day, good day.
And thank you to everybody for the 10-year episode. Thank you for everybody that came on the show. And I don't know if I'm doing anything else with that because I'm recording this like when I haven't even edited that yet. So no clue what's going to happen with the 10-year show as of this recording. But we are here to talk about Batman Beyond Neo Year. And usually when, as long as I have my finger on the pulse of Neo Gotham, anytime I see any Batman Beyond, I'm like, JT, time. It's like me tapping you for a Nickelback episode of GeekCast Radio. It's like, hey, let's go. It's time to work.
But unlike the Nickelback episodes, there's not years between episodes.
Well, no.
And that's up to the band. It's not up to us, folks.
Yeah, I mean, you know. And that's the funny thing. Like, I've been listening to a lot of music podcasts, a lot of different things over the years since COVID and everything else. And I will fully say that my personal belief is that we're still in the midst of COVID. It may not be as bad as it was when it first started, but we're not out of the woods yet, folks. So stay safe out there and indoors and outdoors and everywhere else you have doors or where you don't have doors. But I found it interesting what the bands that I love to listen to did. Either they got to work or they decided they wanted to just take a break. And at some point, Nickelback was like, yeah, it's been about 5 years. Let's go ahead and get back to work. Because originally what canceled when COVID happened, I don't know if I would have gone to see them. I wish I would have been able to. But like, I was so excited for the 15th anniversary All the Right Reasons tour. They were going to play that album cover to cover on that tour. And then COVID happened and that tour got canceled. And then they went back in the studio. And then now we have Get Rollin' and all that. And of course, no one here on this comic feed podcast is wanting to hear us wax poetic about Nickelback. But yes, Batman Beyond. And where we start with this is over in Urban Legends number 7.
Yeah,
Batman.
and
Good.
Sorry, I'll just jump right in here if I may.
Yep.
For those that don't know, over the last couple of years, there has been this Batman Urban Legends title, which is essentially an anthology title set in the current DC, continuity.
Yeah.
Very different, and it's not necessarily ties into ongoing storylines. Like they had a 2 or 3 or 4 issue story as the origin of the current incarnation of Ace the Bat Hound, and how he was tied in. The Joker was running a dog fighting ring, and he was like this beast of a German Shepherd who eventually Batman is like, I like you. You're a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. So preceding the Neo Year miniseries, folks, a couple of months before in the story, they have issue number 7, the lead story, Batman Beyond Wake. And it's New Year's Eve in Gotham City. This isn't a spoiler. This story and the miniseries are both written by Jackson Lanzing and Collin Kelly. Max Dunbar did inks and pencils. I was surprised when I read the miniseries. I didn't know about this issue. I thought it was going to be a Dan Jurgens run again, but sadly, it is not. And I think because of that, this story overall does not take place in the continuity of the Dan Jurgens Batman Beyond era.
Yeah, no, this is its own era. This is its own thing. It's
a comic book world that is ostensibly the continuation of the animated series, because we still have Mary McGinnis we see in this story, and Matt and Max, and they do mention Brother Eye, who was like the main antagonist of DC's Future's End, which was which led to the Tim Drake Batman Beyond title before Terry was rescued and deprogrammed. So anyway, it's New Year's Eve. Terry's in the Batcave. Batman is dead. Like, Bruce Wayne has died. Something's overloaded his pacemaker, and he finds out that this off-brand Skynet has come to life because of all the technology and the interconnected systems. And it's how a lot of scientists have theorized that AI may or may not happen in our own world, that all this internet, it's like, what is it, Terminator 3? When they activated, they were having problems with a virus, and it turned out that, well, the internet was basically coming to life, and Skynet was like the last piece of the puzzle. So the Living Gotham tries to kill Terry, puts out a APB through the police on Batman, and steals all the money in Gotham City and promises it to every criminal: if you guys bring me the head of Batman. And even cops are getting in on that. And by the end of this story, Terry almost kills it by using the blackout protocol, but he decides Bruce doesn't kill, I'm not going to kill. Yeah. So he stops the protocol from killing the AI, but he forces it out of the Batcave, and Wayne Manor is blown up. And Terry is left now to his own devices. He has no backup. He sent his family and Max and Dana out of the city, and we're off to the races.
Yeah. I wish I knew about that before I read Neo Year.
Yeah.
Now I've heard of Collin Kelly before. I've heard his name. This is the first time I'm reading anything by him. Same thing with Jackson Lanzing. They are now doing currently IDW's just Star Trek with Cisco. As like they're doing the whole, so Steve Megatron and I are covering that as well here inside the pull bag. And I was like, wait a minute, Jackson Lanzing wait a minute, JT and I are about to do Neo Year. I'm like, yeah, cool. Yeah. So, but when go ahead.
No, you finish, please.
So when I first started reading Neo Year, I was like, wait a minute, I feel like I literally felt like number ones should be able to bring you in immediately. And yes, there are a few lines in here that say, hey, it's a few months after Bruce Wayne was murdered by this AI and whatever else. And it did bring me in. But the first issue, I also felt kind of lost because I was like, there's something missing here. And now you tell me there was an issue of Urban Legends where they kind of set the whole thing up.
Yeah.
So,
and and one of the things I liked about this story, like, they have this scene where there's this dude who's literally shitting bricks. He's the interim CEO of Wayne Powers. And that's when he tells Batman that all the bank accounts in the city have been drained. And Batman's like, the hell? And then the Living Gotham, who I'm going to continue to refer to as off-brand Skynet because I just like the sound of that better.
I like the sound of Living Gotham, but basically, cheap ass Skynet is fine. Yeah,
it's off-brand Skynet blows up like the top 6 floors of Wayne Powers Tower. Batman's chased by all these criminals. He goes after Ty Maroney, who's this. She's the current matriarch of the Maroney crime family and her enforcer. And they kind of look like the characters you see in the Cyberpunk 2077 game, like, except with slightly more metal on their bodies. And he's like blaming her for it. He's just like, I have nothing to do with this. I was like, I hope they bring her back in a further Batman Beyond series, which is supposed to be coming out this year.
Yeah.
I just love the idea that you're bringing like a classic criminal element like that back into Batman. Yeah, so by the end of it, like you get these flashbacks where Terry's in the Batcave trying to figure out who killed Bruce Wayne. It's interspersed with these, flashbacks to Bruce giving him his last, like, you're better than me. You're a better Batman than me.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that pisses me off about this story, I did not want Batman to go out like this. Like, and it's like that episode is like, well, what do you think I call me in my head?
Mm-hmm.
And Terry's like, yeah, but that's my name now.
Yeah, that's them.
Yeah. Tell yourself that, kid. But it's not like I needed him to go out, but it's like I think I would have preferred Bruce to like go out standing at his feet and you're taking a blast point blank from Blight.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. It's not cheap, but it doesn't feel like this was the death that Bruce earned.
Right. I don't think any of the deaths that we've had in the death of Bruce Wayne in the Batman Beyond universe in the comics, I don't really think any of them are worthy of the man. I just think that, they're just kind of like a means to an end. I think what more is meaningful isn't how Bruce dies. It's what Bruce ends up saying to Terry.
Yeah.
As he's died. Like that's the impactful part. And the fact that, and you and I haven't had a chance to really, I've done this with other people, but mourning the fact that even though we still hear his voice in our heads,
yeah,
Kevin's not here anymore.
I know. And I definitely got a little verklempt, teared up a little bit when I listened to that episode of I Hear Voices, Christy Carlson, Romano, and Will Friedle.
Yeah.
Like one of their very first episodes, they brought Kevin on, and just to hear this joy and this life in this man, and then just so soon after lose him, and it's like that's another one off the list of guys I want to have a beer with. Yeah, because I have that list, and it's like.
Yeah, and I tell this story every time. Steve and I got to talk to the man in 2012. It's been 11 years since we got to talk to him. Steve and I have gotten to talk to Lauren Lester twice, and for the last couple of years, like right before the pandemic started, what I wanted to do was I tried reaching out to both Kevin Conroy and Lauren Lester because especially in 2022. Being the 30th anniversary of BTAS, I wanted to get them both on for a new interview talking about 30 years of the animated series, and no one knew. Kevin loved the anonymity. If you listen to our old interview, or you listen to any interview he's ever done, he always says that voice acting for him was all about the anonymity of it all at the time, because at the time, 30 plus years ago, when he was doing Batman, the animated series, there was no internet. There was no, it was just kind of starting a few years later, but and all that. But yeah, I am all about the content. I'm all about the entertainment. I'm all about what these people are giving us on whichever medium it is. It's not that I don't care about their personal lives. What I don't care about their personal lives is I don't care to invade. Like, I am not a current affair. I am not hard copy. I am not Inside Edition. I am not Access Hollywood. I am not trying to get every juicy damn detail. And the point of me saying this is I didn't know. I don't know how many people actually knew outside of his closest inner circle that Kevin had cancer.
Yeah.
And it just sucks.
Yeah. And I got to say, one of my favorite stories I've ever heard about him, told from him, was and I'm sure a lot of fans have heard this over the years, was he's telling the story of when he went down to serve relief workers at Ground Zero, and he does, I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman, and just prior to that, you hear some like a-hole New York firefighter, prove it.
Yeah.
And he does that. Holy shit, he is Batman. Yeah. And that always makes me smile. But we should probably get back to the topic.
No, we should. But still, it's like, again, talking about Bruce Wayne and his deaths. Well, Bruce Wayne, the character, will forever be linked to Kevin Conroy, Adam West, everybody. But I mean, for most of us animation fans, it's Kevin Conroy. And yeah, I've heard him tell that story many times, but my favorite way of him telling it is when he told it to us, because he said at the beginning, right before he told the story, he goes, "Should I clean it up a little bit? It has a lot of foul language." I'm like, "Nah, we're explicit around here. We don't worry about children here at the GeekCast Radio Network." So he goes into the story, like you said, yeah. "You guys will never guess who's been serving your dinners. It's Batman." And well, like you said, the guy in the back, stands up. "Bullshit, make him prove it." And then he says the line, "Holy shit, it's Batman." Yeah, proud New Yorker, proud person, proud everything. Ryan and I just covered in episode 507, I think it was, 506, 507, something like that. No, it was 506. We covered the Finding Batman, the story he wrote for DC Pride 2022. Oh my God. That's about just as emotional as Paul Dini's A Dark Knight story that Paul Dini wrote. So yes, Bruce Wayne and his deaths with Neo Year and the Living Gotham and the Living Skynet and all that, and holy crap, so good.
Yeah. Now, because we're both reading from the digital issues here, I love the cover on issue number 1. This is straight up a poster piece.
Oh, absolutely, it is.
If you took Neo Year off that title card and just made that a poster, I was like, that's on my wall. Terry perched on a ledge, all the bats behind him. You got this image in the background, like possibly a reference to Brother Eye, which they do reference in that urban legend story. But like I said, this is very much probably a spin-off from a universe where the animated series happened and none of the Future's End stuff. But we get into it, and I love Dunbar's art. It's got this very
it's
shiny,
very sleek. Yeah, it's very sleek.
Yeah, and it's got this. I hesitate to use the term anime, but it's got this kind of animated sort of feel. Just and it perfectly captures the Blade Runner-esque architecture of Neo Gotham. Mm-hmm. Batman's out. We don't know what's happening right away.
Yep.
But, he's fighting splicers. He's being chased by the cops.
Yeah.
And he has to, he's got like one of those requisite, he says activate dead zone. He's got one of those little gigas that every superhero or super spy has that like prevents somebody from recording him. And you prove like how bad it is for Terry that he is writing. I mean, physically pen to paper writing a journal because off-brand Skynet is constantly looking for him. Yeah.
So really quickly, because I know we're going to gush about it later with the art, but the art in the beginning, like you said, Max Dunbar with Sebastian Chang on colors, and I'm probably going to mispronounce the name, but Aditya Bidikar is the letterer. I love the letters. I love the colors. I love the lines. Everything about this art is amazing to me. And with Lanzing and Kelly, what I love about this, and we'll get into this further in this episode, in the next week's episode when we talk about issues 4 through 6, I love the story titles, Gotham Sword, Shadow, and Whisper for the first 3 issues. I love that because it just makes you want to get into the story.
No, that's great. And I do love I think one of my favorite things in terms of the art is that scene where Terry is walking under the huge like VR
Wayne Powers,
augmented reality, like Wayne Powers' new leadership, new direction, new legacy. And talking about how they rebuilt the top of the building. They took the construction rails down. I don't know if it probably has. Do you have the See Batman Urban Legends thing in that panel?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. because sometimes they don't do that in digital. I know that's probably in the print issue. And he's talking about this guy, Donovan Lumos. And I was like, oh, this guy's going to be a complete dick.
Yeah.
Just
so
from that last name. The Holographic Man.
Yeah.
Like,
so yeah, see Batman Urban Legends #7, where Terry's last year ended. Shui Dave. So yeah, that's there.
So Terry picks him up a nice suit.
Yep.
And you see that he's gone back to his ne'er-do-well ways, or he's picking pockets and scamming his way into this thing. And I was right. Donovan Lumos looks like the biggest douche in the history of douches. Like, dude, I understand you want to shine bright like a diamond, but it's a little much.
So isn't Lumos a pre-existing, like this isn't like this is an OG
character as far as I can tell.
Yeah, this is what that's what I'm saying. Like, this isn't like Kyle Higgins creating Rewire. Like, this is Lumos. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, Lumos. Where have I've seen that before. I know that name. It's whatever, but yeah, I mean, he's very flamboyant.
Yeah, and I was just looking on the wiki here. Apparently, he may or may not have been influenced by Papa Elon Musk.
Oh, of course.
And I can see that in how he's talking and working the crowd.
Yeah.
He's like, now let's party, because as he morphs through all these different things, and then he sees Terry, and it's very much a dick measuring contest that Lumos is certain that he's winning.
Yeah.
Because he basically tells Terry to kick rocks and eat dirt.
Yep.
And he goes to see Commissioner Gordon, who is still Barbara, who's got like this detective Beam, who I love when you find out what her full first name is later.
Yes.
I dig that. She wants to transfer out of thing, and Barbara's like, no, you're a good cop. I need you where you are. And, they're getting in an argument, so she tells her to get out, and, she and Terry talk, and she's retiring. And Terry's like, the look on Terry's face, like, bitch said what?
So this scene, like you said, with Detective Beam, where she's talking to her, and it's Barbara, and hello. Okay, so let me ask you this before I continue with this line here, is when you think of old Barbara Gordon, do you hear the Stockard Channing voice from the series, or do you hear Angie Harmon from Return of the Joker?
Oh, it's Angie Harmon every time.
Hands down every day. Like
I love Stockard. I love her voice work in the series, but there's a steel, there's a firmness to Angie's voice overall in everything she's done, but specifically with her cameo in Barbara.
Yep.
Or not cameo, but her role as Barbara in Return of the Joker.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, that's Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. So this scene here that you're talking about, if you think one person can do anything about the way the GCPD really works, maybe you really aren't detective material after all. Now get off my roof.
Yeah.
That's
like a check your will, cross your I's, dot your T's, kind of like, oh.
It is. Yeah, but I hear Angie and her lovely raspiness. I hear her in my head with those lines. And I love it. After this, she goes, thanks for waiting until she was gone. That would have been awkward.
Yeah. But again, like I said, Terry has this bitch says what look on his face. Like, it is perfect. And it carries over into the next panel. Like, he's legitimately, his brain is misfiring. The hamster has stopped running on the wheel. He's like, bah?
Yeah.
And she's
good.
Like, I was going to say Tara. Barbara knows that there's something going on, but the city is safer. Like, crime rates are down. She's just like, she's tired. And I could imagine Angie Harmon doing that scene too. And she leaves, and Terry goes and stops his drug shipment, and we walk into the most anime character that is ever animated in Gotham City. The Knight.
Yes.
The Sword of Gotham.
Sword of Gotham, yeah.
And he's got one of these dumb, and don't get me wrong, folks, I love dumb designed weapons. Like I love like Cloud Strife's sword from Final Fantasy. I wish I could use that in real life.
Yes.
But he's got this thing that it almost looks like a hook sword, missing the hook part at the top. It's made out of light. This guy's all silver and gray. And, you know, he gets into it with Batman. And I love how he says, people would have been, or it's like almost 3,500 people would have died because of the drugs that like what Terry did. So now he's going to kill an equal number of people that Terry saved.
Yeah.
Which immediately made me think of the Void and the Sentry in Marvel Comics, because for every life that the Sentry saves, the Void takes a life in response.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this tilting like goes up big.
Yeah.
And Terry crashes into the Gotham Harbor and he's being swallowed up by rubble. That's the end of the first issue.
Wait, hold on here, because we got to go back to the Barbara and Terry scene, because where he's, the sarcastic part where she seemed nice. I love the way the art is done to show that he was in the cloaked mode, like the redness around his hand and around his feet. I love that design. Yeah. That is so cool.
Which is usually just he fades in like the animated series, and that's the way they usually draw it in the comics. That little design touch is so good, and that's what I got to say about the art here overall that Max does. He also does his own inks.
Yeah.
There's like this shine, like he uses light so very well. Like not just because you're standing on top of a building in Neo Gotham, like you are going to be pelted by neon light, and you can tell that from like how the light's coming from the back of both their bodies.
Yeah.
How it's reflecting off the smog in the air, stuff like that. But yeah, Batman fights the Sword of Gotham. And again, when you see this guy's folk, if you do not think anime as fuck, you haven't watched enough anime.
Yeah, even I haven't watched enough anime, and I get like this very first panel here where he's just like running like so we have the panel where it's Terry's face and never fight angry, but above all else. So once we get from the end of that page to the very next full page where you see Gotham Sword, I'm like, holy crap, that's a combination of like Kaiba and Riku and like every anime thing that I do know that I have seen or taken care of. That's very much like it.
He looks like he stepped off of an Image comic cover from 1993.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so the sword gives Terry the business, and like I said, he saves all these lives, so the sword, because they're criminals and they would have died anyhow, he's now going to take an equal number of lives, and he blows up this hospital. And, Terry goes into the drink. Now, the overall 1 to 5, what do you think this first issue?
I really dig it. It has everything to do with Terry and Batman Beyond, and just having something here that is like we're getting this intriguing story of this, like you said, cheap ass, Costco AI, Skynet. We have the emotions of what Batman Beyond is at its core. It's a family story with Barbara, and even though Bruce is gone, she's retiring. That it had literally, this first part has everything. It has intrigue, it has suspense, it has not necessarily mysticism, but it has the points of just everything you want to have in your Batman. I'm digging it. I love the writing. I love the way the characters are written. Max, his lines and his colors, This is the future Gotham that I imagine on the page almost all the time, because while yes, it is kind of rooted in the animated series, it also sticks out as its own thing. Like,
Yeah.
if we go back and we remember when we were talking about Kyle Higgins's run on Batman Beyond, his was very like when we have Rewire. I mentioned him earlier. Rewire and his clones that are made up to look like the Bat family from the DCAU. That's very, very DCAU stylings. This is a mix of what we know and what we think we want. Like, this is what I want out of, like, this, again, to quote, Wreck-Gar from Transformers the movie, New Junkie on a Planet is a sleek, sexy import with turbo handling. That's what this book is.
Yeah. Remember that phrase, sleek, sexy import, folks, because it's going to come into play by the end of this series.
It's going to come into play a lot.
Yeah. But specifically in reference to a certain individual.
Yes.
Anyway, I give it, like I said, I give it a full 5. Like I said, the art, the writing, this is a comic book continuation of the original series, but in a slightly more hard-edged version that this might now be the future of DC. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's but like I said, this is very clear. I think from the Urban Legends story and this, because they don't mention the Bat Suite at all in Urban Legends. They take pains to kind of design Wayne Manor to look like that shot from the animated series, specifically the New Adventures and Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
That very angular looking sort of piece. So it's its own thing. It could be a continuation of the animated series. It's not a continuation of the Dan Jurgens things from my reading.
Yeah,
but,
no, it's not. The Dan Jurgens stuff was its own thing, and that's that had an end point. Now, if they had wanted to do more of Dan's story, they would have brought Dan. No, and again, I'm perfectly okay, from the coverage that we've done here in the Pull Bag in the last 10 years, between the stuff that Steve Megatron and I have covered and the stuff you and I have covered, there have been at least, do my math right, 5 or 6 different writers that we've covered writing this. What's his name? Beecham. Adam Beecham did 10,000 Clowns and Batgirl Beyond back in 1999. Obviously, Kyle Higgins' run, Dan Jurgens, and then now we have Jackson and Collin here. And they all approach it differently, but they all approach it like it should be. If you've seen the animated series at all, this is going to be familiar yet new. And that's the key there. Familiar, but new. Because there's this whole issue, a whole problem with this Living Gotham, this Lumos, this whatever. And it's good. It's really freaking good. It's a thing that, like, people know. Anyone that's seen the cartoon series knows the cartoon series, and then when they do comics about the character, they sort of sometimes stick to things, but then they add something to the Batman Beyond mythos, and that's why I love. Again, that's why I get excited every time I catch one, and sometimes you catch it before I do, but most of the time I'm catching it. I'm like I said earlier in the episode, like, okay, JT, time to get to work. Let's go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm absolutely loving this first issue in. Once I really realized what was going on without him, again, I will end up going back and reading the previous story, Awake. In Urban Legends is something like you mentioned earlier, where it's like you said, it's an anthology series. I want to cover that on its own. Kind of, because that one, is it 4, 5, or 6? One of those issues has a story written by Cameron Johnson, who was Batwing in live-action television. Whoever thought we were going to get Luke Fox in live-action television? Say what you want about the Batwoman series, but holy crap, we got Luke Fox in live-action television, and the fact that the actor of that character on that show got to write a Batwing story in the comics is amazing. So yeah, Urban Legends will be covered at some point, folks. But yes, so this, yeah. Issue 1, there wasn't anything I didn't like, so straight 5 out of 5 for me. So
yeah. So, I mean, we get into issue 2, and I love the cover of Terry in this weird orifice mouth with the nasty teeth.
Yep.
And the spinny background. He's surrounded by Jokers.
Yep.
Who honestly were the best thing they could have done with. I at first when the animated series came out years ago, I kind of balked against like, why is there not a Clayface? We got that with Ink. Like, you didn't have any of the OG villains except for that one Mr. Frieza. I loved how they did the Joker. Like, the Joker is like, why wouldn't socially maladjusted youths who have way too much pent-up aggression, why wouldn't they go towards this, the monarch of mayhem, the clown prince of crime, and emulate his style? So I love that. I love this cover.
Yep.
As we get into the story, Terry's pulled himself out of the drink, and we get this. I love the broken, like, kind of digital effect borders they have for the text as Terry's being taught, like the Living Gotham or off-brand Skynet is talking shit to Terry. He's like, I could have given them beautiful dreams, but you forced my hand. I love that line. You forced my hand to the hilt of my sword. And I was like, that is a baller villain line.
Yeah.
And, I am not a villain to be pummeled. I am the system of the world. I am the Living Gotham. And I knew exactly what Terry was going to say when he says, end this folly, let them die. And he's like, never. And he GTFOs, trying to, like, get his stuff, get his bearings.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's got to hack the Batsuit.
Yep.
Because the Batsuit's constantly sending out all these 1,001 different signals that help it get around easier and disappear in Gotham and all that. So Terry's got to disable everything. He does, like, you see in action movies sometimes, he gets like an infrared light collar or something, or his mask. It basically distorts cameras so they can't see his face. It just looks like this bright mass of pixels.
Yep.
He gets a Faraday cage, which is don't know how to explain that.
Faraday cage is essentially like no signals can get in or out, folks. If you've ever seen 1998's Enemy of the State, Gene Hackman's character in that has a Faraday cage. So
yeah, like that, or the cage that Jay Baruchel made in The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which I love that movie. I don't care what anyone says. But yeah, I love that. A Faraday cage style. So it looks like this awesome future cloak sort of thing. He's got the strips on his masks, and he goes about getting information, trying to figure out, who knows what, who's got the information on criminals in the city. They mentioned Miss Kyle, like Selena, and Miracle Molly, which is a very recent addition to the Batman canon. She was introduced about a year or so before the Fear State storyline. She's a really cool character, and I would love to talk about her more, but it would take way too long to explain her character.
Okay.
And you see him like hacking and, skulking his way through the shadows and kind of Batmaning as Batman does.
Yeah.
And I love anytime they have a reference to splicers. Like, he's got the one-eyed cat and Foreman, which kind of looks like old Hob from the Ninja Turtles comics.
Yep.
I always love the splicers. I thought that was a really cool concept. And he runs into he's running into this building. I forget if it's a bank or not, or it's like just
it's Gotham. It's Gotham Central Insurance has a record.
Yeah, there you go. So he breaks in and he comes across these three beings called Gestalt, which their colors and some of their design aesthetics again reference Miracle Molly, who's the quickest way I could explain her is she's a woman who decided to stop living her life as everyone was telling her how to live her life, and made a choice to like change her perspective. And it's a little more involved than that, but she basically is this like techno whiz who's trying to build a better Gotham, but completely divorced from anything Batman might do.
Yeah.
So Gestalt, is stealing diamonds. Terry chases after them right into Joker Town. My God, I love that front door.
Yeah, that front door is...
Like, did you ever play Arkham City?
No, but I've seen people play it.
Yeah. This reminds me of how the Joker did up the old Sionis steel mill.
Yep.
And I mean, they got all their like the big wheel and the clown car, and everyone's got flamethrowers and rocket launchers and yo-yos, oh my. And
yep. I love what Terry says here as he heads into Joker's town. He goes, "There are 3 rules to fighting Jokers. I'll never forget them, Bruce, long as I breathe. 1, they'll prey on your mercy. Mercy is just a joke to them. Don't let them laugh. 2, you'll always be outnumbered, so make every shot count." And then we see him, punching and kicking and elbowing Jokers in the face. And then 3, they're untrained no matter what schwarbage they spout or weapons they wield.
Stop
They're
making
the joke.
Schwarbage happen. It's not going to happen.
Schwarbage is Schwarbage. Schwarbage in, Schwarbage out. Schwarbage is Schwarbage. The man himself said it. So it's a thing.
It's Schway.
It's Schwarbage.
And it's in here. They wrote it. It's not me trying to make it be a thing.
Yeah, you're just having some fun.
Yeah. So I love that, beat them to the punchline and all that, beat them up and yeah, such a fun action-packed issue with this. Like, yeah. And where he says, "I need allies to fight this," and I was like, I wonder where that's going to lead.
Yeah. And as we talked about Angie Herman being the voice of Barbara Gordon, no one else has ever done Terry.
Yeah.
So it's always Will Friedle, but that scene where he's burning through the last 2% of his rocket fuel, and I'm the Batman. I went back to Rebirth episode 2. Where he doesn't kill Mr. Fix, but I am Batman. I was like, that's my boy.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I love the kind of the anime, again, going back to that, the whole cyber tendril dreadlocks that the 3 members of Gestalt have, and they're just kind of vaguely alien goo demon kind of look like that. And he makes this very impassioned speech, is can you help me? And just the body horror of seeing those tendrils go into Terry's face.
Yes.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's a little much.
And he takes his mask off, folks, and he's appealing to their with your genius, your tech, whatever you are. Maybe we could stop together. No, see, no, despair. And then the tendrils just, and
that full page of the 3 different poses, it looks like it's 3 different Batmen, but it's him in 3 different aspects of what they're doing to him and all of this.
I thought that was the Gestalt without all the cyber schmutz on their heads.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Okay, yeah.
It made me think of the 3 psychics in Minority Report.
Yep.
Floating in the, and it's like they've been hive-minded together.
Yep.
And all this, and and you see it, the tendrils being pulled out. Is how do you still have eyes?
Yeah. Yeah, really. Terry,
he should be dying on a roof right now, or did they grow him new eyes on the way out or something? Jesus, that was horrifying.
Yeah, very, very horrifying. And like you said, he's, he needs allies, and he's trying to plead with them as the people they used to be, and we get to a point where, but not on us or our prizes. And he goes, right, you mean the prize I'm still holding?
Yeah.
And anyone knows me, folks? My 2 favorite colors are black and purple. And because of Bruce Timm and Paul Dini and Eric Radomski and Alan Burnett and everybody that the city of Gotham in the future, in the Batman Beyond future, is always purple. So having his black suit with the red and whatever, and all these purple skies.
Yeah.
Forget about the purple mountains, folks. It's all about the purple skies.
And I love how in this moment, like he tells him, like, my name's Terry, look it up on your infinite Google search engine or whatever. You know, it cost me everything. And how nonchalantly he dumps this handful of diamonds. And with his words, Terry McGinnis has won Gestalt kind of tentatively has won them over to his side, and he drops them off, and I couldn't help but think of like where Arnold is feeding diamonds into his suit.
Into his suit, yeah.
In Batman and Robin, just because whenever I see Batman with little like M&M sized diamonds like that, that's where my brain goes.
Yep.
And they drop him off the side into like the almost seemingly infinite depths of Neo Gotham. You see this foot that then morphs out of like street clothes into the sword of Gotham, and he picks it up and he crushes a diamond. Educate yourselves and look up how much pressure you would need to do that, folks, and realize this guy's not playing around.
No, he's not playing around. He not at all. And I love this is what I the one thing I do miss, and I have it here in single issue because it's all I ever got, but like I also love reading trades. What I miss about the trades is, or what I miss with reading trades is sometimes these teasers of next, and at the end of this with him crushing the diamond, next, the last party in Gotham. The second issue, man, like, wow.
Yeah, and I love, one thing I want to say about because you see that kind of headshot of the Sword of Gotham in this last panel. I don't know why. I've always been a fan of those head sock comic cowls like this. Like, think of like X-Men in or Gambit in X-Men, folks. So he's got that weird head sock thing, all his hair out the top, ears out, face out, just that weird thing. You know, Havoc from X Factor, Cyclops brother, has the same deal. I don't know why. I love that thing. I think it works very well for comics because you want to have a little ostentatiousness with your character designs, be they good or bad.
Right.
Like I said, I really dig the whole anime aesthetic of the sword, but just that last scene of him holding the diamond and crushing it. This is another one I'm giving it a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I think it's bad, but I think because of like the kind of go-ness of this issue, like the action of this issue, some of the dialogue is sacrificed a little bit.
Right.
You know, so we get all these amazing like double page spreads and all that.
Yeah. I think that this issue, and I'm right there with you, right at a 4 out of 5. This issue, along with a lot of issues that, especially comics that are 6-issue miniseries, it's a constant balancing act. But okay, you've introduced us to the characters in the first issue. You've told us what the general gist of the story is. Now we get a not volume. Issue 2 and 3, like action pack. Let's go. Let's do some fighting. Let's do this. Let's do that. And yeah, I still dig it, but you're right. It is most definitely a 4 out of 5. And again, those pages at the end of this with all the oh God. I know they're just buildings. I know it's just skies, but I love that design because it's never looked more sleeker than it looks in this comic book.
Yeah.
So we get to issue 3, and issue 3, every once in a while, usually like one time per series, DC and Batman Beyond and all of that will do a cover like no other, or they will do like a referential cover. Like I remember at the end of some of the Tim Drake run where they had like all the faces of Bruce and Barbara and whatever else, and number 3 has that with its main cover, and it's Barbara, it's Batman, it's Dana, it's Lumos, and it's all the characters, you know, that we've seen or that we will see, kind of thing. And then there's obviously the city. I just or maybe it's not Dana, maybe it's Detective Beam. Beam Booma. Yeah, so I absolutely love this cover for issue 3.
No, it's a classic cover. You got Lumos in this very Christ-like pose, you know, welcoming the light. You got the elite of Gotham in masks, and you know, it's a very classic movie poster kind of design with, you know, Batman charging at us and Commissioner Gordon and Detective Beam doing over-the-shoulder look, you know, the last party in Gotham.
Yeah.
And then I actually picked up, because they're all sold out at my store, but I got a physical copy of issue 3. It's the only one I have right now because everything else has been sold out. They have this wonderful, I'll have to find a link for you, show you later, where it's this digitized cover of like they're in VR or something, and Lumos is threatening to swallow Batman.
I see it here. Batman Beyond New Year number 3, done by, who's it done by? It says ages 13 plus at the bottom right. Yeah, I see it here. Okay. Yeah, this is freaking cool.
Now, as we get into this issue and we get, you know, Commissioner Gordon, you know, got her requisite file box full of stuff. She goes home. She's got a cat. Yeah. She's got a congratulatory letter from, you know,
who is that from?
I don't know. She'll make it hurt. Could be from Detective Beam. Could be from some weird solicitor. Yeah. She's invited to this. It could be from Terry. Yeah. You know? But she reads this letter. She's invited to her own retirement party that's being thrown by Lumos, who, and I say this with, you know, I don't mean any disrespect. It's the most fabulous outfit that he's worn so far. Like, even Liberace would have looked into this man and go, "Oh dear Christ!" Yeah, it's like this gold and flames trailing off it with the holograms, and it's just the most the most schmoozing per page I have seen in a comic book in a few years.
Yeah, it's very much as if he's wearing a Johnny Storm Human Torch costume. It's got the gold, but it's also got the fiery orange to it too around it.
And with that dumbass mohawk, it makes me think of the world's least likable version of Johnny Storm from World's Greatest Heroes. Yep. Like how they didn't have an episode where Sue goes to wake up Johnny and he's been throttled in his sleep by these massive stone-like hands. Yep. I'm just saying. But yeah,
no, you're right.
Lumos is like leering over her. It's like, you know, he got her this outfit, you know, I thought it'd be a fun flashback to your biff, pow, kablooey. And she's basically telling him that you wanted this party. Congrats, you got it. I'm here for an hour and I'm gone. Yep. And then Terry comes in with his IR mask and a stolen invite, calling himself Neil Gibson, which I believe is a reference to a cyberpunk author. I'm not sure. But he goes through and he sees Detective Beam comes in and she's looking fine. And I don't mean fine like she looks okay. I mean like, damn, girl. Mm-hmm. Like, I love the art. And Terry does one of my favorite things that I see. You see it in heist movies and crime movies where the one guy's going around schmoozing with other people, but he's picking up information by listening to other conversations. Yeah. And how he's listening in all these private conversations with Gotham Elite, and all of them are just like they don't know about, you know, off-brand Skynet, but they know that they have they have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Benefiting tremendously.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And, you got these, like, stuff has gone missing, but hey, I'm sorry, but, like the one guy is like, my entire supply chain will go under. He's looking for a loan from this one dude. Terry's, I love that. I'm drinking a month's salary and a glass of champagne, and all anyone can talk about is the invisible rope choking this city. How do you save someone who loves the noose? And I was like, damn, that's deep.
Yeah, it is. It's very, very deep.
But then we get Barbara give like a very impassioned speech, and she's like trying to tell everyone, what's what, but then it's completely forgotten about because Lumos comes in. Yeah, I bought the cops. Like, yeah. Now we both love that series APB on Fox. Wasn't the best series, but it had a really cool idea. And the guy that played the main dude, the Tony Stark dude, who I found out also voiced Green Lantern in Justice League War, the first New 52 animated series film.
Yeah, Justin, what's his name?
Yeah.
Anyway,
off-brand Tony Stark here is Wayne Powers will personally be funding the Neo Gotham, and literally Barbara, Beam, and Terry both do what is essentially a spit take, and everyone's just like, oh, that's so cool. And they don't realize that this guy, like, they're living in a police state now. And this is one of the things I've always loved about Batman Beyond and the world it exists in, is something that people have been warning about for years, and the increased political and financial power of corporations. Like, you look at every cyberpunk story ever, 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, the bad guys are these megacores that have taken over the future. Like, sure, there's a president and there's senators and politics, but they just go to their paymaster, please, sir, I need some more.
Mm-hmm.
And you see these two women arguing about, the mayor isn't there for whatever reason. He's been missing for like a day and a half almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how Lumos says, Barbara, Babs, you don't trust me. I get it. And no, Gotham isn't in my veins. We both know I'm a Bloodhaven boy. And just how he's talking down to her like that while also keeping that smile on his face. Like, this dude, you swap him out for superior Iron Man Tony Stark, and absolutely no effect is lost with those words.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely not. Like, yeah, very much so.
And then, like, how he's like, the law will catch up to, you're allowed, 100%. The Batman's too, once upon a time, but you retired, and he's, having a flap. Just the way they have it sound like he's doing the little flap motion. And I love how he's just straight up with her, I don't care about this city, but I do want it to work. Which is like I'm going to give him 1 point in a slight redemption factor, that he doesn't want Gotham to burn. He doesn't care about anybody, but he does want it to keep rolling along.
Yeah.
And then the most superior Iron Man, I am the most selfish man you'll ever meet. It's a point of genuine pride. And I was like, dear God, this guy has no soul.
No, he has no soul at all. All right, so as you've been talking about this, I have not been ignoring you. I've been doing some Batman Beyond research.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I can think of, because of the way it's spelled, Neal, okay, so Neil, and then we get Gibson, okay? The only thing I want to make sure to look at this. Neil, yeah. So, Neil Gibson, I'm on the list. There's 2 references I can pull, and we always call each other on our shit sometimes. So if I'm wrong, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Neil is for Neil Adams, and Jackson Lanzing and Colin Kelly, you guys can call me on this too. So the only Neil I can think of with that spelling of Neil is Neil Adams. Gibson.
That's a fair bet.
Okay. Gibson is Max's last name, Maxine Gibson.
You know what? And I was just looking up something here because I literally put Cyberpunk Gibson into Google. William Gibson, the father of cyberpunk fiction.
There you
the
go.
guy that wrote Neuromancer.
Yep.
So I think that's it. It's a nod to Neil Adams and William Gibson because from like the first episode of Batman Beyond, like it's Batman's gone cyberpunk to a very like if anyone says that cyberpunk culture or design elements in that aren't in and I've actually met these people. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it basically has three meanings. Like you said, the cyberpunk guy, but it could also mean because I don't think Max isn't in this story, is she? Like
she was in Urban Legends, but she and Mary and Matt and Dana have all GTFO'd from Gotham because Terry told them to.
Right. Okay. That's. But again, so in comic universe, outside of the person who created Cyberpunk, it could be Neil Adams and Max from Maxine Gibson. So that's.
I'm fairly certain it's Neil for Neil Adams and Gibson for William Gibson, and it's just a coincidence because Max has that same last name.
Yeah.
But yeah. So. Lumos and Barbara, Commissioner Gordon have had this thing. Terry starts, I wouldn't say hitting on Detective Beam, but he's definitely, he's initiated a conversation. He's not being a creep.
Yeah.
And he's like, you want to get out of here? And she's like, no, but I know where they make a hell of a burger. Better keep up slick.
Yeah.
And I love that how you get this look of this like open air, like kind of food court, food market. And they're sitting there and this is one of my favorite moments. Like we've read the whole series, folks. This is honestly like top 3 favorite character moments in this comic series.
Yeah.
Like just this interaction, this honest, for the most part, because Terry still has his IR mask strapped on his face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which again, it just looks like every other thing you've seen in Batman Beyond or anime, where it just looks like 2 big paint stripes. It almost looks like the tattoos that the Hunter has.
Yeah, it does a little bit, but there's a panel in here. There are several panels in here where I look at it straight on. Like there's a panel, I forget which page it is. It's like page 8. Where he's drinking the drink where he says, I'm drinking a month's salary and a glass of champagne, and all anyone can talk about is the invisible rope choking the city. Yeah. If you look closely enough, at least in my eyes, if the mask was a little bit more like lined up together, that could be Nightwing's mask. A little bit.
Oh, yeah. Like when you look at that reflection in the glass, it does look like a straight up domino mask.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the angles are slightly off. We're nitpicking at best, folks. But yeah, no, that definitely looks. But the IR mask that, because he's kind of got like that large patch over his right eye. And then it looks like I forget what that black stuff is that ball players put under their eyes to.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It looks like he took 2 strips of that and just like dragged it over his left eye, stuff like that. But yeah, they go to Beam and Terry go to this market, and it's just like I said, this wonderful meet cute of, if they don't bring Dana back into it, and I do think that Detective Beam is being set up as a possible love interest for Terry. But they're talking about the mayor and how he hasn't been seen for a few days. Mm. And I love just the look as she steels herself. He's like, let's get something straight. You see her hand on Terry's collar. He's like, uh-oh. and she just feeds him the table. Like, and I mean, feeds him the table. All 4 food groups and a cup of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. She basically slams his head. And I mean, And hey, look, she's got something to prove, but again, this is why I love this story, and this is why I almost wish this was more of an ongoing than a miniseries. Like,
yeah,
I love the way that Collin and Jackson are writing this, and as we've already said, the art is just amazing.
Yeah, but I love like how she just gets into his face and just how his eyes are just like bugga.
Yep.
Like, and then he gets that look in his face as like, next time I'll show her my true face and she'll make one hell of an ally. But at the same time, he's like, damn, girl.
Yeah. And I love her line. If you ever come around me with a fake face again, I will hit you so hard your real one gets rearranged.
And I was like, no, we did that false face story. We're not going to retread.
Yeah, we're not good. No amnesia.
Yeah.
And I do love the part of the, as we move on, and I'm sorry to kind of take it over here. I'm just going through the art a little bit here. He says in his monologue, he says, the suit still doesn't show up on scans. You did an incredible work, Bruce. I love this like trench coat looking Terry running down this hallway past this elevator. You see the full bat suit, but just the whole trench coat aspect of it was like, oh man,
his
cool.
Faraday cloak and all that.
Yeah.
And just all these things, like it might not mean a lot to you folks, but for guys like me and Mike who are, been comics fan for years, it's the little, like the tropey sort of things, like Batman running down the hall and pulling his shirt open, harpooning up the elevator shaft, walking into the mayor's office.
Yep.
And I knew from, and this is just me because of virtue of how much movie and TVs and media I've consumed over the years, as soon as they were talking about the mayor not being seen for a few days, it's like, that asshole's dead.
Oh, yeah.
And I love the classic kind of hardwood. I love it's not super intricate, but it's, got the high back leather chairs. He's got the glass of scotch, a good cigar going.
Yep.
And then, hello, Batman. And it's like, I hear Dave's voice. Now, if we gave the Living Gotham a voice, I have one of two choices for you. It's either the original HAL 9000 from 2001 or Sarah Connor herself, Linda Hamilton.
For the Living Gotham, yeah, I would probably go HAL 2000. Wow, HAL 9000 most likely. Yeah.
But I think it would be a huge kind of flipping of the script if you got Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, that would be. Or if we want to really tie, and I don't think I'm gonna have to look and see did he pass away or is he still alive? I don't remember. What would be really cool if we got this in like animation?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, this is something I think Marvel, DC would be well to do if they turn this mini into a direct-to-DVD feature. Like, and because they're doing the Tomorrowverse films, but they're also doing stuff outside, Elseworlds and whatnot. You could do Urban Legends #7 as like one of these short films that comes out with these DVDs and have that lead into
something.
Because and when you think about it, the whole Living Gotham coming after Terry is akin to Hardak coming after Bruce and Terry, and was that 75th or 80th anniversary?
It was 75th anniversary. It was the late great Darwin Cook. Yep. Absolutely love that.
Do that. Sorry, you go.
So the voice of the Living Gotham, well, yes, I technically do agree with you. HAL 9000 would be cool. And while I do agree with you, Linda Hamilton would be a nice departure to tie it back to Batman Beyond. He is still alive. I wasn't sure if he was or was not. But if we got Stacy freaking Keach, who was Bobby Vance's grandfather in the Lost Soul episode of the show.
Or even Jeff Bennett. Like, let's bring Hardak back, man.
Okay, yes, that would be cool. But, like, for the voice of the Living Gotham, can you imagine?
Yeah, no, Stacy Keach, that would be a heck of a get. I was going to say Douglas Rain, who's the man that voiced Hal 9000 in 2001, but I just looked up here. He did sadly pass away in November of 2018.
Damn.
That would have been, but yeah, Stacy Keach or Linda Hamilton or Jeff Bennett. Like, let's bring the OG Hardak back. In fact, even make a line mention in the animated film that the technology of Hardak was in some server buried underneath Gotham. But yeah, so Terry comes in. We don't know for certain right away. It's like, I knew the mayor was dead, but he throws a batarang at the mayor's head, which goes through. Oh, he's trapped in a room. It's a whole trap for him. Yeah. And the issue ends with the Sword of Gotham. You know, this place is your tomb, Terry McGinnis, and you will die in it alone, as he brings his sword down on Terry, as we end the issue with the next Die by the Sword of Gotham.
Yeah.
This one, straight up 5 for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And as he's going through, like, so there are 2 panels in these first 3 issues that I absolutely love. The one panel is, I think it's in issue 2, where he's punching through, where Terry as Batman is punching through the glass. And then there's this one as this ends, where part of that speech is, this place cannot be broken. I believe I screenshotted that at one point, and it was my Facebook cover photo, because it's just a really cool profile shot of Batman with his fist out, ready to fight. And wow, what a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and I love the look, like that last full page of the sword, as he's bringing his sword down on Terry, and how it's got like the light ray or light tracing off the tip of that, which is a very anime thing. I love that. Like I said, in this issue, my favorite shot was that kind of 2-page spread of Terry and Beam sitting in the market, and it starts all the way over on the left side, and you don't even see them until you get all the way over to the right. And it's just the idea of, like, there's all these people out there eating like udon and getting, like, you know, street food and just having a moment.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just love this kind of meet cute as they're talking about shit. And yeah, I can't wait till the next time, Mike, because, like, honestly, folks, this is one of my favorite, not a spoiler, I'll let you know, this is one of my favorite Batman Beyond stories ever.
It's just so, and that's what's so great about the Batman Beyond comics, is that every story is different. We can love every story, we can like every story. Maybe there's some things that we don't like or whatever. However, every time we talk about this character in these stories, we have whomever's in the writer's seat creating, like I said earlier, taking the history of the franchise, of the character of Terry McGinnis, Batman Beyond, but adding something new. And this Kmart knockoff Skynet Living Gotham thing with the Sword of Gotham as its agent is something new, is something cool, is something interesting. I think it's in the first issue. I almost thought it was Dick friggin' Grayson, because at one point Terry goes back to his apartment and he takes his shirt off, he takes his suit off, or takes his shirt off, or does something where he's bare chested and whatever else. And I'm like, I kind of noticed, but I never really noticed how much Terry and Grayson look alike. Sort of, kind of, a little bit. Hence why I mentioned the Nightwing thing earlier with the IR mask. But yeah, I mean, these creators are adding something to this character. They are putting their spin on it, and they are giving us a great story. Now, normally, folks, we would not split this up, but because we gush about Batman Beyond a lot, everything, we are going to be splitting these up, and next week you'll come back and you'll hear us talk about issues 4 through 6. So issue 3, I assume it's another straight 5 for you.
Oh yes, straight.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. There's no
5. 1's a 5. 3's a 5. Like I said, just the flow of the second issue wasn't bad, and it's not. It seems like, 20%, taking 20% of the score off.
Yeah.
Because
but it isn't.
Just the flow. It's just the flow is a little uneven, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not bad by any means. Like I said, this is my favorite Batman Beyond story of the last few years.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a solid. This last issue is a solid 5.
Yep.
I mean, if you look at these scores in these first 3 issues, folks, I wonder what we're gonna rate the series as a whole.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously. And the thing is that when we created, with the help of our buddy and co-host Dan Clark, the Comic Concierge, when we created, along with him and Optimus Solo and Steve Megatron and myself, when we created the GCRN Universal Rating System, it was to define what the 5, 4.5, 4, 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2, 1.5, 1, half point, and 0. We were, I have the link in almost every episode of the podcast on the website, geekcastradio.com. If you go through and you read that, like, 3 is very average. 3 is like, it's okay, we like what we like, but like 2.5 is like, the negatives kind of take away from enjoying. That's not what this is. This is, like you said with issue 2, the flow of it kind of whatever, but it's not enough where, even though the flow is off a little, we're still compelled and interested in reading this story, unless something happens in a comic that really just turns me completely around. I won't give up on it. It takes a lot for me to give up on a comic.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, 545. So far between the two of us, it's 545 for each issue, and it's going to be fun coming back to Neo Year next week, and I'm very interested to see what happens with Batman Beyond in the future, because the future happens apparently tomorrow night. KNIGHT, folks. We're going to take a quick break. You're going to hear some ads and some other stuff. We're going to come back to close the show right after this.
Hello, geeks and geekettes! Looking for a podcast that covers a vast array of topics? Then check out Altered Geek Unleashed, where we discuss our thoughts on this week's geeky news, tech, gaming, television shows, movies, cartoons, comics, and more. So, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks, every Friday on the GeekCast Radio Network.
Because the world needs another movie podcast.
The GeekCast Radio Network presents for your listening pleasure the Cinema Geek.
Hosted by Amanda, Kevin, Matt, and Dan.
Each week we dive headfirst in the landscape of movies as we discuss movie news, play movie games,
go in-depth on reviews,
and even have a top 10 countdown or two.
Also, don't miss our director retrospective series, where we review noted directors' movies film by film. Bottom line is, if you love movies and love podcasts, you need to experience the Cinema Geeks.
You can find us on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio, or GeekCastRadio.com.
Like science fiction? Of course you do, or you wouldn't be listening to the GeekCast Radio Network. Well, the Marku 42's Universe podcast is an award-winning sci-fi radio show that's been around for over 10 years. We cover everything from Doctor Who to the MCU to pop culture and everything in between. A new show drops on Tuesday mornings on the GCRN website and all of the major podcast platforms. So listen to the Marku 42's Universe podcast from the universe and beyond.
Batmobile! Ignition!
All right, folks, we are back here inside the Pull Bag, episode 512, with mine and JT's part 1 of 2 for Batman Beyond Neo Year. As we've stated in this episode, we covered issues 1 through 3. Next week, we will be back with issues 4 through 6. JT, final thoughts before I run through the closing, sir?
Read this comic if you have any love for Batman Beyond.
There you go. Thank you for joining us here inside the Pull Bag. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can listen to and comment on all of our content. Send email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. Here are all the ways you can listen to us nowadays. Apple, Google Podcasts. Leave us reviews, please. Spotify and any other podcasting client you choose to use. Follow us on Twitter at GeekCast Radio for the network, at The Pullbag for the show. I am at TFG1Mike. What is your Twitter?
At JT from Saskatoon.
Very cool, very cool. Become a fan on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/GeekCast Radio Network. You can also check out the Pull Bag over there as well. Does any of your shows have Facebook pages?
Well, I am on the Sunday Funnies, as mentioned earlier with us. That's on the Twig Facebook page. Right. And for the Comic Connoisseurs, we have our own website that Ben has set up, but we don't have any real social media except for Twitter.
Okay. There you go. For now, I am TFG1Mike with
JT from Saskatoon.
As always, make your great escape into comics.
Surprised to see me? A little. I'm more surprised that I lived so long.
Batman, Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, Batman. Or have you met?
Not now.
Great. What did they used to call it? Stereo?
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pull Bag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback@geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter @thepullbag and @geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.
Ace. Good bad dog.